How's going guys, welcome to the channel. In this video we are gonna see, what if Naruto fell in love with Hachishaku-sama? Part 3. If you wants to see awesome fanfiction like this, don't forget to subscribe. Now let's get into the video. With the rookies. The rookies, Jiraiya, Kurenai and Asuma are on a boat sailing towards Yuzu. Seeing the island up ahead, they were getting close. In about 2 hours they would reach land on the island and get Hinata quickly as possible before Hachishaku-sama harms the Hyuga girl. How much longer until we get there? Said Kurenai looking out into the sea. We have about 2 hours to reach to Yuzu. Once we get there, said Jiraiya with confidence. All the rookies were there, even their newest member Sai, also a member of Team 7. Sai was picked by Danzo to join and retrieve Naruto or Hinata, as the pale boy remembered what his master told him. Flashback Root HQ. Sai was on one knee in a bound position as his master Danzo had his back turned, not even looking at the pale boy. Sai, you're to join the Konoha rookies on their next mission to retrieve the Hyuga heiress, Hinata said Danzo in a motionless voice, as Sai nodded. You are to try and capture the QB Jinchuriki when the rookies along with Jiraiya of the Sannin and Asuma and Kurenai deal with Hachishaku-sama. He said with the pale boy nodding. Do not fail me, the old man said. As you wish, Danzo-sama said Sai as he walked off to do what he was told. Flashback end. They had to try and get Hinata from Hachishaku-sama. They prayed that they weren't too late. Jiraiya stared off at the island ahead of them as he wondered why not just get Naruto back. He wanted the boy free from Hachishaku-sama's clutches. He wanted to fix the bridge he and Naruto once had. He wanted to fix his amends for the sake of Minato. In the skies. The Akatsuki were riding on Deidara's large clay bird that consisted of Pain, Konan, Kisame, Itachi, Sasori and Deidara himself. They were heading for Yuzu as well to retrieve Zetsu, that is if the plant man was alive, and to capture one of the missing Jinchuriki Hachishaku-sama has. Soon this Hachishaku-sama will know Pain, said Pain himself. Elsewhere. On another boat consisted Kumo, Team B. Killer B was on a boat with his team Kurai, Amoy and Samui on a mission to find Yujito and save her from Hachishaku-sama. Along with them was C and a good portion of Kumo and Bu, 2 squads, should Hachishaku-sama be too much to handle. We're coming for you, Yugi said B. He was going to save his friend and die trying to get her from Hachishaku-sama. Yuzu at the moment. Hinata was getting used to her new yokai form. Her legs were big, strong and fluffy. Her coat to her rabbit legs were colored lavender shade as her fluffy paws were lean with claws. And remember, she's a combination of that rabbit girl from Killing Bites and that bunny girl Carrot from One Piece. I might make her a little like Kagaya. Yes, you are a yokai rabbit. You have the ability to jump in high places and jump pretty high in the air. You can did like a rabbit. You even have claws and ancient senses like a rabbit. Like your ears, you can hear a lot better, explained Hachishaku-sama as Hinata looked at the woman. Now let's show Naruto-kun what you look like, Hachishaku-sama, as she grabbed Hinata's hand, leading the girl upstairs. With Naruto. He was pacing, wondering and worrying about Hinata as he stopped, seeing the doors opening, revealing a brand new Hinata as a bunny. In Hinata, he said, shocked and blushed at her appearance as she blushed and looked away. Now no need to be shy, Hinata, give him eye contact, said Hachishaku-sama as the Hyuga girl did so and stared at Naruto as he came to her. How do I look, Naruto-kun? Hinata asked, looking at her future lover. You look so adorable. May I touch your ears? Can I, he asked, wanted to touch those lavender rabbit ears of hers as she nodded meekly. He touched them, smiling, and inhaled her scent that she smelled like lavender. Hachishaku-sama smiled, watching the scene, rubbing her pregnant stomach as she felt a kick from her twins inside her. Hinata was blushing as she felt Naruto hug her as she hugged him back. Welcome to the family, Hinata-chan. He said as she smiled, feeling accepted and welcomed into this yokai family. Thank you, Naruto-kun, she said with her rabbit ears twitching. Before Naruto, Hachishaku-sama and Hinata could do anything else, Tiko Uzumaki walked in the living room with a look on her face. What's wrong, Tiko-chan? Asked Naruto, looking at his daughter. We have intruders coming to our home, she said in a monotone with the three widening their eyes. Who are they? Hachishaku-sama asked. Konoha and I believe Kumo is also here, was all Tiko said as Naruto scowled with Hachishaku-sama, narrowing her eyes. They're here for me, said Hinata. What should we do, father? This is your call. Tiko said, seeing him sigh and narrow his blue eyes. I will go after them and I'll deal with them myself. He said, looking at Hinata and Hachishaku-sama. I'm coming too, Naruto-kun, said Hinata as Hachishaku-sama nodded, seeing she would have to come too. And Kumo? Tiko asked. Send Kayako after them, she can kill them. And have her take our house pet to fight against Kumo, Hachishaku-sama spoke, seeing her daughter nod. The Akatsuki are also coming, said Tiko with Hachishaku-sama scowling further, and Naruto. Assemble the yokai generals and the Edo Tensei Yuzu samurais to fend them off, commanded Hachishaku-sama as Tiko nodded. Let's go, it's time I see my former friends. I'm giving them one chance to leave peacefully, and if they don't leave then so be it. I told them that I wanted to be left alone, and they have the nerve to come here, said Naruto as he grabbed his Uzumaki clan blade Raijin Jaku-sama, the legendary sword that was wielded by great Uzumaki. This sword belonged to Uzumaki Yamamoto, the Shodai Yuzukage. Naruto found this weapon in a Yuzu treasure vault as Hachishaku-sama trained him Kenjutsu style, since she wielded a sword too. Her sword can cause and create earthquakes, she even has the power to destroy the world. If she wanted to, without her sword she can still cause earthquakes. Raijin Jaku-sama can manipulate great fire with such embers that it can reduce all creation to ash. It now chosen Naruto as its wielder and master. Only in Uzumaki can wield such a legendary weapon. Now Naruto and his yokai family with Hinata included were going to beat the hell out of the trespassers who stepped on land of Yuzu. Unexpected guests were not allowed to come on this island. But Tiko Uzumaki. The girl was sharpening her sickle and scissors. Plus getting her butcher knife so she could gut the shinobi like a fish. After sharpening her weapons she assembled the yokai generals that consisted of Uzumamachi, who is a red oni demon, Haku who is now Yuki-onna, and Kamimaro Kagaya the spirit of Gashadakuro. These three are Hachishaku-sama's yokai generals and guardians of Yuzu. Each yokai general now had an army. Ito Tensei Yuzu samurai. Zabuza has 80 Yuzu samurais. Haku has 60. Kamimaro has 50. Tiko stood in front of her mother's private army that she risen from the dead as she spoke. Listen up all of you, we have unexpected intruders on our island. My father is going to deal with Konoha, Kayako, and our house pet will deal with Kumo. Now you all are going to handle the Akatsuki, said Tiko grinning behind her surgical procedure mask. What do you want us to do with the Akatsuki? Said Zabuza, who hefted up his sword. Maim them, kill them if you wish, but mother would want them either dead or captured. Now go carry out mother's orders. Tiko said, clipping her scissors as the three yokai generals and their soldiers marched out to prepare an ambush on the Akatsuki. With Kumo. Filler B, his team along with C and 2 squads of Anbu were the first ones to reach the island and were now on land being prepared for anything. So this is land of Yuzu, it's a peaceful island, said Omoi with Samui nodding in agreement. Yes, it is a cool island, Samui said with Carrie frowning. Now is not the time to compliment the island, we have to find Yujido, Carrie said as she drew her sword. Filler B was just looking around trying to detect Yujido's chakra. Yujayuki, anything yet? Thought B looking straight forward. Yes. It seems we are not alone B, I sense yokai chakra, Jayuki said as B frowned. Yokai chakra? So the Nibi is here? B replied. No, it's not the Nibis. This yokai chakra is different and it's full of rage, Jayuki said as he sweated a little. Before Killer B could reply, he along with his team were disturbed by a strange croaking sound. A shiver went down their spines when they heard the croaking and death rattle get louder. They heard bones snap as they looked up on a tree branch, seeing a girl covered with blood with her pale skin and black lifeless eyes. Never shouldn't have come here. Spoke Kayako Uzumaki as she croaked, twisting and snapping her bones. What the hell is she? Said Omoi while his team and C's Anbu squadron prepared themselves. Leave or die. Threatened Kayako. We aren't leaving nowhere, pale bitch. Not without Yujido. Spat Kurai while grimacing, seeing Kayako's hard stare. So be it, I will take your lives. For mother and father. Come my pet. Kayako said as a black cat appeared in blue flames. Perry laughed. A mere cat fight us? Do you have any idea who we are? We are Kumo. Said Kurai holding her sword with Omoi doing the same thing. He was watching the cat and if could see behind his shades his eyes were widened. Dayuki, tell me you're not the only one sensing or recognize this chakra. Thought Killer B hoping he was wrong. No it can't be, said Jayuki looking shocked. The black cat hissed, swaying its 2 tails as blue flames consumed the cat. The fire died down, revealing a woman with black hair and having the Nibi's eyes. She had blue Nico ears and blue fire twin tails. Her feet had claws and her hands. Filler B stared hard at the catwoman who looked just like Yujido. He wasn't the only one shocked. Carrie, Omoi, Samui and C had the same reaction. No it can't, said Omoi as his lollipop fell out his mouth. No way, said Samui looking shocked. Perry froze in shock. Yugi, Yujido, shouted B. The Nekomata woman Yujido stared at her former friends with a blank expression, looking lifeless as she hissed lowly at them. She no longer had her blonde hair, it was replaced with black. Her eyes were like the Nibi's, no longer wearing her purple Kunoichi outfit, which was replaced with a pale purple yukata with cat paw prints colored dark blue. Yujido? Is that you, said Kurai hoping to reach her former friend. Was Yujido's response while Kayako smiled, petting her black cat as Yujido purred. What have you done to Yujido? Demanded B, who did not rap or rhyme not one bit. That is my mother's doing, not mine, your friend belongs to us. She is our family house pet. replied Kayako. Yujiro. It's us. Remember us. Pleaded Amoy. It's pointless, my mother had altered Yujido's mind, she only obeys my mother, my sisters. My father and even me. As much as I would to tell you more just to rub it in your face, it's time you all die for stepping on my mother and father's home. Yujido, kill them. Kayako commanded. At once Kayako-sama, said Yujido in a emotionless voice as she lunged at her former friends with her claws out. The beach side of Yuzu. The Konoha team made it before they could even head to the forest. They found themselves surrounded by a giant ring of fire. What the hell? Why is there fire? Said Kiba, with many wondering the same thing. I thought I've made it so simple for you guys to not come here and find me. Just what part of leave me alone don't you understand? Said Naruto with his voice filled with anger, holding his Raijin Muramasa. As the blade was coated in fire, Hachishaku-sama and Hinata were besides him, along with Sadako and Tiko. Naruto. Said Jiraiya, seeing those cold blue eyes glaring at him and the others. In Hinata. Yelled Sakura along with Ino as the two looked shocked at her new appearance. Now that I caught you all here, explain your reasoning for coming here when I made it perfectly clear not to look for me and that I wanted to be left alone. Speak. Yelled Naruto, glaring at the Konoha group who shivered at his look. With Kayako and Kumo. Yujiro swung her claws at 3 Kumo Anbu, slicing them in pieces with her sharp claws, while Amoy laid there on the ground choking on his blood due to Yujiro slitting his throat with her claws. Amoy. Hang in there. Cried Carrie, who was crying tears seeing her teammate dying. Pillar B decided it was time he steps in. One of his students got killed by his former partner, he has to stop her. Yujiro. Snap out of it. This isn't you. Pleaded C as he blocked each of her claws with his ninjato blade while the Anbu moved in to surround Yujiro, forming a perimeter. Yujiro was ignoring him as she opened her mouth and breathed the Nibi's blue flames directly at C's head, killing him. C. Yelled Samui, who was besides Amoy and Kurai. The Anbu that surrounded her all jumped at her with their weapons, but she unleashed a wave of blue flames to incinerate all of the Anbu to ashes. Lariat. Shouted Killer B, who landed a hit on Yujiro. Kayako scowled as she watched how her pet cat was dominating the Kumo squadron, but scowl increased when she saw Yujiro get hit by Killer B. Snap out of it, Yujiro. Please. This isn't like you. Fight that ghost lady's control. Said Killer B, unsheathing his swords. Kayako shook her head. It was pointless in talking some sense into Yujiro. Yujiro got back up, narrowing her Nibi eyes at Killer B as she got into a stance with her claws. The two stared at one another. So fight you want, Yugi, then we both don't got a choice, he said as he lunged forward with her doing the same. They both clashed at one another. Both of their chakras flared. Yujiro gave B a mean kick to the jaw before swinging her claws to his chest, leaving him a mark. Samui and Kurai could only watch as Amoy had eventually died due to the loss of blood. The two silently mourned for their teammate that Yujiro killed. Kayako grinned watching the fight. As she kept her eyes on Kurai and Samui, making sure these two don't get in the way. But the Akatsuki. They all circled together. They were unprepared for this. They fell right into the Yakai general's ambush. Zabuza. Is that you? You're supposed to be dead, said Kisum, who looked shocked seeing his former friend here. Well, if it isn't Kisum, long time, no see, the man said, holding his sword. You are in our way of peace, stand aside and let us get the Jinchuriki. Hachishaku-sama is hiding, and Zetsu, said Pain as all his 6 paths were summoned and ready for battle. We can't let you pass, we will kill in the name of Hachishaku-sama, said Kimimaro as he felt the urge to turn into his Gashadakuro form. Then we'll just have to do this the hard way, attack. Said Pain coldly as he, his paths and fellow Akatsuki members charged into battle. At them. Commanded Zabuza as he and Kisum clashed blades. Aku summoned up a snowstorm to slow their movements and heavy whirlwind blizzards towards the Akatsuki. The lightning bolt struck Kimimaro as it turned him into the Gashadakuro, the 90-foot skeleton, as the Akatsuki looked shocked beyond disbelief at what they were going to fight. The Edo Tensei Yuzu samurais lunged forward to attack them from all directions. Madara flew on his clay bird bombing the Gashadakuro, but widened his eyes seeing his explosives did no effect. Sasori was using his puppets to fight the samurai. Konan and Pain along with Itachi were breaking through the samurai's defense, getting past them as they were trying to get in the forest. Before they could reach any further, a wall of ice got in their way. Haku hovered in the air with her snow and ice glaring at the three, with her cold yellow eyes of Yukiana. I can't let you three pass, Hachishaku-sama will not allow you to steal, Naruto-kun, said Haku as she unsheathed her sword that Hachishaku-sama had given her. The sword Haku was wielding was Sode no Shirayuki. Get out of God's way, Pain said with him and his paths ready for anything. Konan has her paper shuriken, while Itachi held a kunai. Never, she replied in a cold voice. Then so be it, you will feel God's wrath, said Pain as he and his paths charged at Haku. With Naruto. The Konoha group looked shocked and were shivering under Naruto's burning glare. He was giving them they looked from Hachishaku-sama to Tiko and Sadako, then to Hinata and Naruto. Well. Are you going to speak? Naruto yelled as he still kept the group trapped in a ring of fire from his sword. Kurenai and Asuma gave Jiraiya glances hoping he would speak for them seeing they couldn't speak. But the lump in his throat Jiraiya decided to speak. Naruto, please listen to us, we came here to bring Hinata back to the village, he said, seeing Naruto's glaring crease as he released a little killing intent. I'm afraid that's out of the question, Hinata belongs to us. She came here willingly just to be by Naruto-kun's side, she signed the contract and sold her soul to me, Hachishaku-sama spoke, seeing the Konoha group look shocked as Kurenai turned to face Hinata. Hinata. Is that true? Tell me it's not, asked Kurenai staring at her bunny-turned-student. It's true, Kurenai-sensei, I gave my soul away to Hachishaku-sama. And became a yokai, Hinata explained, shocking her sensei and teammates. Hinata Hyuga belongs to me and Naruto-kun, Hachishaku-sama said. Hinata, step away from her. She's a monster. Yelled Kurenai, not going to accept her student becoming a yokai. I can't do that, I'm staying with Naruto-kun and Hachishaku-sama said Hinata, making Hachishaku-sama and Naruto smile. Naruto, please come back, come to Konoha where you belong, not with that monster. Jiraiya said, glaring at Hachishaku-sama who was unaffected by his glare. Give me one reason why I should return to that shithole of a village. Give me one good reason, Naruto yelled. Konoha is your home, Naruto. It's where your parents would have wanted you, Jiraiya said, but was interrupted as Naruto's killing intent skyrocketed. My home Konoha isn't my home anymore. He yelled with rage, making them squirm. For the first time they have never seen Naruto this angry. Don't you dare bring my parents into this. Where the hell were you at all my life? Oh, no need to tell me because it's obvious where you've been. You were out caring more about your precious spy network and smut books than my well-being. You never bothered to visit. Or send me a message. You, Kakashi, Sarutobi and that old hag Tsunade kept me in the dark about my heritage. Naruto yelled, seeing Jiraiya look away as he looked up at Hachishaku-sama who was grinning, making the toad sage scowl at her. Naruto lowered the fire down, making it go away. Naruto-kun, please come back to us. We're sorry. Please. Don't stay with that monster. Pleaded Sakura, hoping to reach her friend. Call my wife a monster again, Haruno, and I'll kill you. Naruto said coldly, making Sakura look at him in horror. He didn't call her Sakura-chan like he used to. Naruto, please stop this, we're your friends. Pleaded Ino this time as Naruto turned to her with a furious look. Friends? We were never friends, Ino. The only friends I'll ever acknowledge is Shikamaru, Choji and Hinata. The rest of you are just fake. He replied with anger. Deciding to calm down, he gave them a calm glance. I'm giving you all one last chance, leave or you leave me no choice but to hurt you, he warned, staring at them. I'm afraid we can't do that, Naruto, I won't leave you. Not this time. Said Jiraiya with defiance. Naruto's eyes widened and narrowed. So be it, if it's going to be like that then fine. Naruto said as he lunged at Jiraiya with his sword as the toad sage jumped back. Sakura and the rookies were going to intervene, but Tiko got in their way holding her sickle. Stay where you are, this is their fight, said Tiko. Daring them get closer. Asuma stared at Tiko and narrowed his eyes. He remembered this girl's description. You're Chiriku's murderer. Not only you killed him but killed the daimyo and massacred a whole dojo of priests and monks. Asuma growled with Tiko smiling behind her surgical mask. Friend of his? She asked, seeing him growl. You will pay. He yelled, lunging at her with his trench knives while she blocked with her sickle. Asuma. Said Kurenai, stepping forward, but Hinata got in her way. Hinata, move. She pleaded. No sensei, I won't let you use any genjutsus on Naruto-kun's daughter, Hinata said. Hinata, how could you protect her? Do you have any idea what she's done? She killed our daimyo. She killed Asuma's friend. And massacred priests and monks. Retorted Kurenai. That may be so, but none of that matters, sensei, stand down or else I'll be forced to fight you, warned Hinata, shocking her sensei. Along with Shino, Kiba and Niji. With Killer B. Battered and badly injured from his fight with Yujito, now shirtless with burn marks from the Nibi's fire and claw marks on him, struggling to stand holding his one sword while the rest were scattered around the ground. Yujito was slowly healing from her sword wounds and bruises she earned from Killer B. They both stared at one another, waiting to see who makes the next move. Yujito, I know you're in there. Fight the ghost lady's control. I'm your partner, Kurabi. Fight her control and come back. Killer B pleaded, hoping he could get through to her. She stood there staring at him blankly, hissing lowly, narrowing her Nibi eyes at her one so-called friend. Please. Bro needs you back. Come back to Kumo. He said, now standing up, healing a little from his wounds he received from her. Ayako was watching from the sidelines as Samui and Kari hoped his words reached to her. Yujito's expression started to soften a little but was quickly replaced by her cold blank expression. Kumo is no longer my home Kurabi, I can't come back, the Raikage was a fool to send you and the others after me. I'm forever bound to the new Yakai Uzumaki family, Hachishaku-sama has said, I am their house pet and protector. Yujito spoke in a harsh tone. You can't be serious. Yujito, stop. Stop saying such nonsense. Yelled Carrie. She's actually telling the truth, you idiot, said Kayako as Samui and Carrie looked at Kayako in shock, then back to Yujito. I've always envied you, Kurabi. I've envied the life you had in Kumo. Well, I was mistreated my whole life, it just wasn't fair to me. You were loved and favored in Kumo because you're the Raikage's brother. Well, I was looked at the opposite way. Yujito spat with anger as B winced and looked away. Yugi, he spoke but dodged her mouse hairball. I'm sorry it has to be this way, Kurabi, but this is the life I've chosen. My loyalty is with the Yakai Uzumaki family, Yujito said as she got on all fours, swaying her blue flaming tails. With a sigh, he straightened up his stance, holding his one good sword right now. No more playing around then. Guess I have to break every bone in your body to drag you back to Kumo. I'll do what I must, said B as he was flaring his red chakra. B-sensei is going to transform. Thought Carrie. So he is a Jinchuriki, mother might have use for him, thought Kayako as she narrowed her eyes watching killing B. Filler B shifted into his 8-tail red cloak with what looked like bull skull. Yujito just stared, prepared to fight him in this form. But the Akatsuki. The Akatsuki were struggling, the Yakai generals were giving them a hard time. Zabuza is riding on his water dragon, clashing against Kisam's water shark jutsu, as both former members of the Seven Swords of the Mist dueled with their blades. Sasori was having a rough time being swarmed by Ito Tensei Yuzu samurais, and at the same time he nearly got crushed by Kimimaro, who was still in his Gashadakuro form, holding a one Dadara in the giant skeleton's bony hand. The former Iwanin was stunned and shocked by belief that none of his clay explosives did no effect on the giant skeleton. Now that he was caught in its grip, the Gashadakuro opened, its mouth going to devour Dadara. Shit. Sasori. Help me. He yelled, hoping his partner would come. I'm a little busy right now. These damn samurais just keep coming back. Grunted Sasori as he dodged their swords while controlling his Sandai Amikazikage puppet to fight some of them back. Fuck. Dadara cursed as the Gashadakuro bit down on his head as the skeleton drank Dadara's blood from his decapitated body before dropping it on the ground next to Sasori, who looked horrified at his partner's death. Zabuza beheaded Kisam and cleaved the shark man in two as the famous sword Sharkskin mourned for Kisam's death. So long, Kisam. You were a worthy challenge. Zabuza said, now walking over to Sharkskin, picking it up. I now own this blade, he said, putting Sharkskin on his back while holding his executioner's blade. Looking to his left, he sees Sasori flailing. At him. Zabuza pointed at the puppet man as the samurai chased after him. He now turned to his right, widening his eyes. Amaterasu. Itachi said as the black flames erupted upon Haku, burning her as she dropped her sword. Aya. She screamed, seeing a part of her melted from the intense flames. Haku. Zabuza yelled, running to her as quickly as possible. Itachi used his fireball jutsu to melt the ice wall for him, Pain and Conan to go. Haku looked up with a shocked expression. Oh no. They're heading for Naruto-kun. She yelled with Zabuza at her side. Haku? Are you alright? He asked, lifting her head up as Kimimaro reverted back to his original form and ran at her side too. I'm fine. Zabuza-sama just burned badly, my ice healing ability will kick in shortly, she said softly. Where did they go? Kimimaro asked as Zabuza pointed a direction at where the three Akatsuki members ran off at. I'll go after them, the albino Kagaya said, running after the three, knowing he couldn't allow them to reach Hachishaku-sama and Naruto-sama. But Naruto versus Jiraiya. Jiraiya swiftly dodged each slash of Naruto's Raijin Jaka Muramasa, trying to find an opening and getting Naruto, but the Toad Sage needed to at least talk some sense into Naruto. The Brad is really aiming to kill me, he muttered and fought back, flipping away from the fire slash as he landed on a boulder with Naruto glaring at him with his red eyes. Stay still. Naruto yelled. Naruto, please. Can't we talk this into a civilized manner? You have every right to hate and be angry at me, but please, give me a chance to make up for my mistakes. Your father would have never wanted this. Jiraiya pleaded, seeing Naruto glare at him as the sword bursted into flames in rage. Don't you dare mention my so-called father. He is the reason my life is ruined now. Naruto spat with hatred for his father. Jiraiya winced. Naruto, you have to understand, your father had no choice, he couldn't bring himself to ask another family or another parent to make that kind of sacrifice. If he didn't seal away the QB, Konoha would have been destroyed and everyone would have died. The Toad Sage pleaded, trying to reason with his godson as he looked from Naruto to Hachishaku-sama, who was still standing there with a smile on her face at Jiraiya. Damn her. She's not only turned him against us but to his own father. Jiraiya said in thought, glaring at the 8-foot woman. I understand perfectly. Naruto yelled, charging forward at Jiraiya and swinged his flaming sword at Jiraiya as the Toad Sage barely dodged as the boulder he was on just got cut in two. Hachishaku-sama grinned watching her Naruto-kun go at Jiraiya as she looked at her daughter Tiko go toe-to-toe against Asuma Sarutobi. Sadako was standing by her mother while glancing at the Konoha shinobi with disdain. Kurenai looked worried for her secret lover as she watched Asuma dodge and block Tiko's sickle. "Naruto, please. I don't want to hurt you. I want to make amends. I want another chance," Jiraiya said with a pleading face. "Another chance? No, you've lost that right the moment you, Kakashi, Tsunade and Sarutobi lied to me and were never there for me when I needed you all. I trust Hachi-chan with my life," Naruto declared, seeing Jiraiya look hurt. "Naruto, how could you say that? Hachishaku-sama is a monster. She's killed children. Children your age. How could you follow her?" Jiraiya said, not believing what Naruto said. Naruto closed his eyes after hearing Jiraiya's words. Yeah, Hachishaku-sama may have killed children, and he accepted why she did it, not that he was angry at her when she kept him in the dark about what she and Tiko did behind his back. "And your monster of a daughter, she's killed children. Priests. Monks. And priestess. Even went so far to killing the fire daimyo. Aren't you a little worried that they could turn on you and kill you?" Jiraiya said, seeing Naruto open his eyes, looking at him with a blank face. "Your mother and father wouldn't want you to be with Hachishaku-sama if they were alive. Please Naruto, come back," Jiraiya pleaded, looking at Naruto in hope, hoping his words go through to him. Naruto paused, looking from Jiraiya back to his wife Hachishaku-sama, who looked at him with a worried face. "No," Naruto said in a whisper. "I refuse to come back. I'm not going to lose the one thing I've always wanted, love and acceptance. I was already denied that back in the village. I'm sure as hell won't be denied a second chance. Hachishaku-sama has given me her love and affection while at the same time given me 3 wonderful daughters. Even if they are yokai, I love them. Hachi-chan may have done terrible things behind my back, no matter what, I still love her. She's done more for me than you and anyone else in the village has done. Sure, Iruka, Am and Tuchi were there for me and I don't hate them or is angry at them. If you Tsunade and Kakashi can't accept the fact that I'm truly happy, then you've all lost. If you so much as come and seal away my beloved wife, I will kill anyone who dares, even if it means killing you, Tsunade or Kakashi," Naruto said with conviction, as everyone was shocked beyond belief of his words. Hachishaku-sama and Sadako couldn't be any more happier hearing those words. Tiko was the same thing, though she didn't express it, seeing she was in the middle of a fight with Asuma. Jiraiya looked completely heartbroken as tears streaked down his face. He failed in bringing Naruto back. He looked at Hachishaku-sama with burning hatred. She looked at him with expression as if she was saying, "He is mine now. You old fool, Naruto-kun belongs to me and our family now, and there is nothing you or anyone else can do about it," she said in thought with a smug expression. Letting his anger and guilt get the best of him, Jiraiya formed a Rasengan and leaped over Naruto, making the blonde look at him in shock, then widened his eyes in horror, realizing who was his former sensei going after. "Hachi-chan!" Naruto yelled, running after Jiraiya. Hachishaku-sama widened her eyes, as did Sadako. Tiko kicked Asuma to the ground as her eyes widened, seeing Jiraiya come at her mother with an enlarged Rasengan, not the mega-sized one yet. "Mother," Tiko said, going to run to her mother, but felt pain when she noticed a shuriken hit the back of her leg. She turned around, glaring at Asuma, who was on his knee. "It's not wise to turn your back from a fight," Asuma said, getting up, holding his trench knives ready to attack Tiko. Jiraiya ran at Hachishaku-sama, stretching out his right arm, planning to target the attack into her pregnant belly. "You child killer," he yelled in thought, not caring that he can't physically kill Hachishaku-sama, seeing she was immortal, but he was going to deny her will to produce more yokai children. Only to get a wave of fire slash his chest, courtesy of Naruto Uzumaki, who shunshined, delivering a burning slash to Jiraiya's chest. "Aya!" the Toad Sage screamed, falling on the ground. "Jiraiya-sama!" yelled Sakura, and all who saw him fallen as Naruto stood in front of Hachishaku-sama, holding his Raijin Jaka Muramasa, looking at his former sensei with rage. "Sakura. How is he?" said Kurenai as she ran to him alongside the genin. Sakura used her diagnosis jutsu. "He suffered a burning slash to his chest. The scar is too deep and is losing blood," she said, looking up at Naruto as she flinched from his enraged face. "How could you, Naruto? He was your sensei. Your godfather." Sakura yelled back, not believing that her former blonde teammate had become so cold and heartless at what he did to Jiraiya. "That man is not my godfather, not anymore, Sakura," he corrected, looking at his pink-haired teammate with a sneer. "He's still breathing. But is unconscious. Losing blood," Sakura said, using whatever Tsunade taught her to heal Jiraiya to keep the wound from getting worse. "If he dies, he dies a fool," Naruto spoke, looking away from the man he called sensei. Sakura couldn't believe how cold Naruto had become as she looked at Hachishaku-sama, scowling at the 8-foot woman. "Are you okay, Hachi-chan?" he asked, checking on her. I am fine Naruto-kun, he didn't touch me or the baby, she said, seeing him sigh of relief as he turned back to his former friends, seeing them look at him in shock. Leave this island. I'm not going to say it twice, I didn't want it to be this way. But you guys forced my hand, Naruto said, seeing them wince. Please leave and no one else won't get hurt. He said solemnly he didn't want to have to hurt his other friends Choji and Shikamaru. Seeing they had no choice, they have to leave. Well, isn't this touching, said a new voice, causing everyone to turn around and look. The source of who said it. It was Pain and his 6 paths along with Conan, but where is Itachi? Itachi stayed behind to deal with Kamimuro, who was pursuing them. The Akatsuki, said Asuma as he and the others looked shocked. So it seems the Yokai generals failed in stopping some of them. Said Tiko, who given her mother a knowing look. Don't worry Tiko-chan, your father will protect us, Hachishaku-sama said, glaring a death glare at Pain. Conan flinched at her look as Pain and his paths had a blank look. Things have just gotten more interesting, if not worse. But Kayako grinned, jumping down from her tree, walking over to the now beaten near-death Killer Bee as she stepped on his sunglasses, breaking them in the process. Yujito had her claws at Bee's neck. Good work Yujito, stay your claws. Mother might want him alive, said Kayako. What about them? Yujito said, pointing at Kurai and Samui. Kayako grinned. Mother might have use for them, they stay alive for now, stay here, I'll send some Yuzu samurais here to your location to keep those 3 detained until mother has use for them, Kayako said as Yujito nodded, seeing her owner vanish. Naruto, Hachishaku-sama, Tiko, and Sadako all glared at Pain and Conan, who was staring back at them while the Konoha retrieval team were just standing there watching. Sakura is still watching while healing Jiraiya at the same time, who is still unconscious from Naruto's attack. Kayako appeared besides Hinata while Sadako and Tiko turned towards their sister. Gumo has been dealt with, mother, we captured a Jinchuriki and 2 survivors, Yujito is guarding them, said Kayako with her mother smiling as the Konoha retrieval team had wide eyes hearing this. What the hell was Kumo doing here? Thought Shikamaru, looking from Hachishaku-sama to the Akatsuki. Good work Kayako-chan, Hachishaku-sama praised while Pain scowled hearing that she caught the 8 tails Jinchuriki, now she has the 9, 5, 2 and 8 tails. It was starting to irritate him. So you are this Hachishaku-sama everyone is talking about? Said Pain, glaring at her, who glared back. Yes, and I take it you are the supposed leader of the Akatsuki, trying to play the role of God, she said, looking at him. I am God. And for interfering in our way of peace and justice, I will see to it that you will know pain, he said with his Rinnegan intensified as Conan put on a brave face. Naruto narrowed his eyes at Pain as he pointed his Raijin Jakim Uramasa at Pain. I won't let you lay a finger on Hachi-chan. Naruto said, daring the man to do anything as the man turned towards his direction. The QB Jinchuriki, so this is where you've been all these years. If I can't capture the Gobi or the Nibi or even the Hachibi, I can just capture you instead. Pain said with Hachishaku-sama releasing a massive amount of killer intent. What about Zetsu? Whispered Conan. We will find a way to retrieve him, he replied back, hearing Hachishaku-sama make a cruel laugh, meaning she heard them. I'm afraid that's not possible, she said, making him and Conan frown. Whatever do you mean? Conan asked, seeing Hachishaku-sama's lips form a ear-to-ear smirk. There is no Zetsu no more, she spoke, seeing the shocked looks of both Akatsuki members. What have you done to him? Asked Pain, looking infuriated. I have killed him, I devoured him. His chakra and essence is absorbed into me and has merged with my own Yokai chakra, Hachishaku-sama said, shocking both the Akatsuki members as if they couldn't believe what she said. No. How is it possible? Exclaimed Conan, wide-eyed as Pain looked even more horrified as he scowled deeply at her. After I completely devoured his soul, he has given me certain gifts and powers that can pretty much rival the Sage of the 6 Paths. Said Hachishaku-sama as she glowed bright purple, releasing a massive amount of spiritual pressure causing tremors and made almost everyone fall on their knees when they felt her power. This power. It's unreal. Thought Conan, who couldn't stand. Pain and his 6 paths couldn't even STSND either as they were forced on their knees, glaring hatefully at Hachishaku-sama. With a wicked smile she lessened her power as she closed her eyes. Hand over the Jinchuriki. Pain said, pulling out a black chakra rod. Why would I do that when I have possessed the body of Hanya from Iwa? She held the Gobi. I'm not giving away the Nibi or the Hachibi my daughter recently captured, and Naru-kun is off limits. Hachishaku-sama replied, opening her eyes that made everybody freeze and look in shock. Impossible. How can she have those eyes? Thought Conan, completely shocked. Pain and his paths were completely caught off guard from this, he didn't know how to react, he was very surprised. The Konoha retrieval team looked shocked as well, looking at Hachishaku-sama's eyes. Naruto looked at his 8-foot wife's eyes and looked shocked. No longer her eyes were dark blue, they were replaced with purple with ring-like pupils. Guess you could say Hachishaku-sama indeed has the Rinnegan. Elsewhere. Itako could only peek from the corner watching her grandpa talking to a stranger as she eavesdropped their conversation. Turns out that her grandpa is talking to a very old woman wearing traditional priestess robes holding a sacred bow and arrow. Yes, Kei-san. I fear that Hachishaku-sama has returned, she heard her grandpa say in a grim tone. What will you do? Now that she has returned and is no doubt killing innocent children, spoke Kei-san looking at Itako's grandpa. I don't know, I can't seal her way by myself in my current age, I will need the help of a seals master to help me seal her way, he said, grimly blowing his pipe. We need help to stop Hachishaku-sama before she kills more innocent children or do something worse, he said looking at Kei-san. I'll gather what priests and priestess I can from my village and temple. To assist you I'll contact my sister, she's a soothsayer, she might give us a vision on Hachishaku-sama's whereabouts, Kei-san spoke in her elderly tone. Yes, we must act now, we must stop Hachishaku-sama, I fear she will do something much terrible in the future, aside from killing children, he said, blowing his pipe looking grim. Is Hachishaku-sama that dangerous? Thought Itako. Meanwhile in Uzumaki. How is this possible? Pain demanded looking at Hachishaku-sama who grinned evilly. Didn't I tell you? I absorbed Zetsu, I have his chakra. Including Black Zetsu's chakra, guess you could say he left me some new perks after I devoured him, Hachishaku-sama explained with her Rinnegan pulsing with intense chakra. Enough. Shinra Tensei. He blasted a blast of gravity at her only for her to redirect it back at him as the Asura Path attempted to fire a chakra blast from its arm cannon, only for Naruto to flash step cutting down the Asura Path horizontal slash. An Araka Path and Animal Path were going to intercept but were surrounded by a ring of fire by Naruto using his Raijin Jaka before making the fire ring small for them as the two leaped out the ring but didn't have enough time to evade a arc slash of fire from Naruto's sword as they were both burned to ashes. Konan was going to help but stopped as she thought it through. She knew she wasn't going to leave here alive. She wasn't sure if Itachi is alive. But she took a glance at Pain, then took a glance at Hachishaku-sama. Even if they managed to capture the Kyuubi Jinchuriki, hell would break loose once Hachishaku-sama goes after them until they die, besides Nagato isn't the same as before. This way of peace wasn't like how Yahiko wanted. She has made up her mind as she took a glance at her former friend. Forgive me, Nagato. I can't follow you no longer, not in this path, I can't follow you in the Akatsuki. Were her thoughts. Pain narrowed his Rinnegan at the Kyuubi Jinchuriki as he was going to use his Bansho Tenon to grab him, but unfortunately he had been stabbed by the back of the head from a paper kunai, killing him, shocking many, while the other paths were quickly killed by both Tiko and Kayako. Hachishaku-sama stared at Konan with interest, with slight surprise that she betrayed her partner. Even Naruto was shocked that she saved him. Would you save me? He asked, coming towards her as she discarded her Akatsuki cloak. She stayed silent, not sure how to answer him until she and him turned around, hearing the bushes rustle, revealing the Yokai generals with a captured Itachi Uchiha apprehended. Zabuza appeared aside Hachishaku-sama. Mistress. Forgive us for not stopping all of the Akatsuki members, but we managed to capture Uchiha Itachi, he reported, seeing her frown. Any survivors? She asked. I believe Sasori of the Red Sands is still alive, I sent Yuzu Samurai after him, he said, flinching at her haunted stare. We will worry about that later. She said, turning towards the Konoha group. I believe you Konoha shinobi has overstayed your welcome, Sadako, if you please. She said with her daughter nodding, who raised her hands, generating a black ring under the whole Konoha team as they fell in the dark ring. She closed it while Naruto looked worried. Don't worry, Naru-kun. They're not dead. Sadako-chan sent them back to their village right now, we have other matters to worry about, she said, turning towards Konan and Itachi, who surrendered themselves. As for you to explain. She said, glaring at them as they both sweated under her gaze. Konoha Hospital. Tsunade could only look shocked at the state Jiraiya was in, seeing a large gash on his chest that looked burned. Sakura and the others told her that Naruto was the one that delivered this fatal blow to her former teammate, which increased her shock even more that Naruto of all people wound Jiraiya like this. She couldn't believe it. She even told Jiraiya not to go after Naruto. Why the hell didn't he listen to her? The matters worse is that the mission to retrieve Hinata was a failure and that Hinata has been turned into a yokai by Hachishaku-sama. And what the hell was Kumo doing there? What she heard from Shikamaru was that Kumo was there to retrieve their missing Nibi Jinchuriki. Now Hachishaku-sama has become a much bigger threat. Now that she has the legendary Rinnegan. Kami, help us. She thought with hope, sighing at how things have become much worse. Meanwhile in Uzumaki, Hachishaku-sama's lair. Deep down under the Uzumaki compound basement, Hachishaku-sama sat in her chair looking at her three daughters and the three yokai generals. She has Hinata spending time with her Naru-kun while she was having this private meeting. So it turns out that the true leader of the Akatsuki is still at large. Asked Hachishaku-sama seeing Tiko nod since she interrogated both Itachi and Conan. Yes, he goes by Uchiha Madara and is hiding in the shadows while the other Akatsuki members are doing his dirty work, Tiko said, seeing her mother scowl. Something needs to be done, he needs to be killed, I can see he will be a problem to us. So far the only Akatsuki members left alive are Sasori. Since he escaped and this Uchiha Madara, she said clenching her fist. What are we to do with this Conan and Uchiha Itachi, mother? Since we have them in custody? Asked Kayako with her mother thinking it over. They stay with us, we are turning them into yakai to join our family, she answered. What of the two surviving Kumo Kunoichis and the Hachibi Jinchuriki? Asked Tiko with her mother smiling. They both will become yakai and surrender themselves to us. If not, then they can die for all I care, and the Hachibi Jinchuriki, I have something special for him. With a curved smirk on her face at the last part she spoke. And Konoha? Asked Zabuza seeing Hachishaku-sama's smile faded. That is up to Naruto-kun, he decides what to do with them, she spoke folding her slender hands. Now that we have the Hachibi, you know the Raikage will declare war on us, mother, if not, he might try to form a Kage summit, said Tiko with Hachishaku-sama narrowing her eyes at that while forming a cruel smile. Then so be it, if the elemental nations wish to challenge us yakais, then so be it, let them come and face their deaths. It seems we will need an army to counter this. Sadako and Kayako, Hachishaku-sama spoke seeing her two twin daughters step forward. Yes, mother. They both say in unison. Go to the Uzumaki catacombs and find more corpses. She said seeing the two nod and leave. And to you yakai generals. Hachishaku-sama spoke seeing Zabuza, Haku and Kimimaro bow to her in respect. I'm adding a new yakai general, along with a commander to our private ranks, we have to double our forces and strengthen our undead army. I've sent Sadako and Kayako to the Yuzu catacombs to find more Yuzu samurai corpses. For now you three are to prepare for an upcoming war, should the Kage summit happen, she said seeing them nod as they dismissed. All that were left in her private underground lair was her and Tiko. And I have a special task for you, Tiko. I want you to sneak into Konoha again. But this time I'm not going with you, Hachishaku-sama said seeing her daughter have a blank expression. What do you want me to do there? Tiko asked seeing her mother beckon her to come here as she leaned in and whispered into her daughter's ear while Tiko slightly widened her eyes. Find those and bring them to me. They could be of some use for our yakai war, Hachishaku-sama said. Seeing her daughter nod her head slightly. Now that we have Uchiha Itachi, you realize father's old friend Sasuke Uchiha will realize that we have his older brother and might come here, Tiko simply stated seeing her mother scowl at the mention of the Uchiha brat. If there was one person she hated and loathed the most was Uchiha Sasuke, she personally wanted to kill the brat when she secretly followed Naruto on his retrieval mission to recover Sasuke. But she knew her lover wanted him alive and still thought of Sasuke as a friend or brother. But now Naruto no longer has an interest in going after Sasuke, thanks to her for making him forget all about the Uchiha brat and Konoha altogether. She needed to have him killed as well. But she feels like she shouldn't just yet, she wants to hear Naruto's decision first before killing the Uchiha brat, then kill this so-called Uchiha Madara. She thought about that name for so long and remembered the rivalry of her Hashirama Senju and Madara Uchiha before she was sealed away. How was Uchiha Madara still alive? Shouldn't he be a frail weak old man? She wondered if she could look deep into Zetsu's memories of this Madara she believes could be an impostor. We will worry about the Uchiha brat later, there's something I must do alone, Hachishaku-sama said, rising up from her chair. What of father, mother? She asked seeing her mother pause then turned to her with a smile. Do not worry, he is occupied with Hinata-chan, she said walking away leaving Tiko alone. Meanwhile with Naruto and Hinata. The bed was shaking as you could hear flesh smacking. On the bed as you could see Naruto was currently pounding a happy Hyuga Hinata in her yakai rabbit form from behind and the said girl was enjoying it, he thrust it into her like a jackhammer while massaging her large breasts in a dominating fashion. Oh. Naruto-kun. She moaned loudly as she yelped when he gripped her hips, still thrusting harder into her with Naruto grunting still plowing behind Hinata. The border to fire country. Tiko Uzumaki, Naruto and Hachishaku-sama's firstborn and oldest daughter now tasked into sneaking into Konoha alone to steal for her mother. Hachishaku-sama almost wanted to send Kayako or Sadako, but she trusted Tiko with this mission personally. Opening her storage scroll looking at everything she needed should she get into a fight looking from every sharp weapon she has at her disposal. In her trench coat she has sharp knives, kunais and scissors, paper bombs, her sickle and chain. She was ready for everything to please her mother. She remembered the day she came into the world and is the chosen reincarnation of Kuchisakana, the slit-mouth woman. Flashback. Isn't she beautiful, Naru-kun? Asked Hachishaku-sama smiling while feeding baby Tiko Uzumaki breastfeeding her firstborn. She's very beautiful, Hachi-chan, but why is her mouth Ear to ear like? Asked Naruto looking at his daughter staring at her mouth that's extended ear to ear as if she was smiling, but the baby was sucking on her mother's breast drinking milk. Our daughter is a reincarnation after a vengeful spirit Naru-kun, that's why her mouth is like this. But no worries, I can place a gain jutsu on her mouth if you'd like. Hachishaku-sama stated looking at her husband. I think it's fine, you don't have to, he said smiling while looking at his daughter as she opened her blue eyes. She has black ebony hair like her mother while having her father's blue eyes. Last night, little Tiko was in her crib with wide eyes staring into her mother's eyes. Hachishaku-sama smiled picking up Tiko from her crib walking away before casting a small glance at the sleeping Naruto Uzumaki. Walking in the living room sitting down on her chair while holding Tiko, she looked at her firstborn daughter with so much affection and love. Hachishaku-sama was overjoyed to have her first child, and now the father of her child is Naruto Uzumaki. Yes, I can feel your yokai chakra growing rather nicely, Tiko-chan. Once you grow of age I will teach you how to control your yokai chakra and for you to take up after Kuchisakana, said Hachishaku-sama, with Tiko staring at her mother, tilting her head as if she was understanding her mother. With the combination of my yokai chakra with a mix of the Kyuubi's chakra, along with your father's genes, you are unstoppable since you are actually Kuchisakana. Hachishaku-sama said, she believed by having sexual intercourse with Naruto, she would birth powerful yokai entities and spirits. As her own children. Hachishaku-sama planned on being the mother of all Japan urban legends and yokais. And Tiko was the first of them bearing Kuchisakana's mouth and spirit. Not to mention her future children won't be just yokais, but also having the genes of both Namikaze and Uzumaki clan, two of the strongest clans that she plans to revive. Once you grow older, Tiko. You will help protect your father and provide for our future family. No monk or priestess will stop me or seal me away, she said with a dark grin, as a Hanyu mask seemed to have made its appearance behind Hachishaku-sama. Sekirei verse. Mia sneezed. Back to Naru verse. Tiko is now at the age of 6 looking at her mother who is towering over her. Since Tiko has aged a little, her black hair has gotten longer as her ear-to-ear mouth formed a smile at her older mother. Here you go, dear, this is what you use to punish your father's enemies, Hachishaku-sama spoke handling Tiko a pair of foot-long scissors that were very sharp and shiny. These scissors were made of adamantine, the hardest and strongest material, even harder than a diamond. Her scissors were unbreakable. And, I will have used vibranium. But this isn't Black Panther Wakanda forever. Tiko accepted the scissors and just stared at them as she could feel herself resonate and connect with her inner spirit Kuchisakana. It was then Tiko spoke for the first time in emotionless monotone. Mother, am I pretty? Hachishaku-sama smiled warmly as she responded. Yes, you are very pretty, my daughter, your father would agree, Hachishaku-sama spoke looking into her daughter who smiled wide. Tiko, now the age of 13, looking at her newborn twin sisters Sadako Uzumaki and Kayako Uzumaki in a baby crib sleeping. What do you think of your new sisters who are the reincarnations of Sadako Yamamura of the Ring and Kayako Siki of the Grudge? Asked Hachishaku-sama standing behind Tiko. They are wonderful, mother, and very pretty like I am. Tiko answered, making her mother giggle lightly. They too are actually Sadako and Kayako reborn, just like how you are reborn as Kuchisakana, stated Hachishaku-sama. You three will bond very well and will come to look after each other and care for each other, and most importantly you three will love and care for your father, Hachishaku-sama said as she just sat there looking at her oldest, watching her twin newborn sisters. Kuchisakana. Tiko Namikaze Uzumaki. Sadako Yamamura Sadako Namikaze Uzumaki. Kayako Siki Kayako Namikaze Uzumaki. 3 of them are the reincarnated and reborn vengeful yokai spirits of Japan. And their parents are Hachishaku-sama and Naruto Namikaze Uzumaki. Hachishaku-sama predicted that she could birth strong and powerful yokai entities with a fusion of Namikaze and Uzumaki genes. With Naruto at her side, she's basically reviving the Uzumaki Namikaze clan by making their children full-blooded yokais. Tiko, now age 14, wearing a black trench coat and a black surgical procedure mask, looking at her mother who is watching Naruto play with Kayako and Sadako, who are toddlers. Tiko had always been at her mother's side and always supported and carried out her mother's commands without question. She's very loyal to her mother and very protective of her father. Flashback end. Finally reaching to the hills, she looked up and spotted Konoha walls. Seeing Anbu patrols and Jonins, she would have to sneak into Konoha without stirring up any trouble, meaning she would also have to disguise herself since they know of her description and appearance. She henged herself as a beautiful maiden and went on to get inside Konoha to steal what her mother had told her to do. But Hachishaku-sama. Hachishaku had finished going through Zetsu's memories as she narrowed her eyes. It seemed her suspicion had been correct. About this Madara Uchiha impostor. Turns out this boy who goes by Obito Uchiha is the Madara Uchiha impostor, as Hachishaku-sama scowled seeing that he was the one responsible for summoning the QB and ruined Naruto's life. Now she definitely has a reason to kill him. Sadako and Kayako entered in their mother's private chamber. "What have you found in the Uzumaki catacombs?" she asked her daughters. "We found lots of Uzumaki samurais in the crypt halls, along with some of the greatest Uzumaki members who were known famous," answered Kayako, who saw her mother smile. "Good work. It seems we have work to do in waking up our undead army of Uzumakis to serve our Yakai family," Hachishaku-sama said, very pleased. "We also happened to find Mito Uzumaki's remains in her crypt as well," said Sadako. "Excellent. She will be the first to be revived, then we work on the other great Uzumakis and our new army for our future Yakai war against the shinobi nations. We will wait until your sister returns since I sent her on a mission. For now we will turn our prisoners into Yakais to join our family. Starting with the Hachibi Jinchuriki, then we will work on Konan and Itachi, then Samui and Kurai," spoke Hachishaku-sama, getting up from her seat. "Sadako, bring me the cow skull," said Hachishaku-sama, as both Kayako and Sadako flinched. "Mother, are you going to use the cow skull?" whispered Kayako with a hint of fear, with Sadako at her side trembling. "Of course I am, and I know just who will be the bearer of the scariest and most horrifying urban legend," Hachishaku-sama spoke with a dark grin as she held the infamous skull of Cowhead. Konoha Gravicite. Finally reaching her destination, Tiko had unhinged her disguise after killing a Anbu unit that was stationed to guard the Gravicite. This very Gravicite before her was the resting places of Konoha's Hokages. Looking from each gravestone from 1st to 4th Hokage, along with Uzumaki Kushina, whose grave was besides the Yondaime's grave. Summoning Jutsu. Demon rats. Tiko shouted, summoning a small box that contained hundreds and hundreds of rat demons, as the box opened, releasing a swarm of rats who looked vicious and twisted. "What is your bidding, Mistress Tiko-sama?" spoke the rat leader named Nezumi, who is the biggest rat and is the size of a Inuzuka dog armed with sharp teeth and claws. "I want your rat brethren to dig out the coffins of the 1st from 4th Hokage, along with Uzumaki Kushina's. After they are dug up, deliver their coffins to Mother," commanded Tiko, as the rat nodded. "As you wish, Mistress," Nezumi said as he squeaked and hissed at all of his rats to dig up the graves of Hashirama Senju, Tobarama Senju, Saratobi Hiruzen, Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Tiko stood there watching. She understood digging out the 1st, 2nd and 4th along with Kushina, but why the 3rd Hokage? She wondered why did her mother want the 3rd. She'll have to find out once her mission is complete. "Stop what you're doing," came an angry voice behind Tiko as she turned her head back, looking to see a certain Jonin with one eye and defying silver white hair glaring at her. "Ah. You must be father's other sensei, Hot Aki Kakashi. Mother has told a lot about you," remarked Tiko, seeing the man sneer at her. "So you're the woman responsible for the deaths of every priest, monk and priestess, including the fire daimyo?" Kakashi countered as his right hand made a sound of chirping birds and intense lighting. "So you've heard of me?" Tiko mocked with a grin behind her surgical procedure mask. "Step away from my sensei's coffin. Along with the others, including his wife. Why are you disturbing their resting place?" asked Kakashi, keeping his eye on her. "That's none of your concern, I'm just following mother's commands." Tiko said, pulling out her sickle and chain. "I won't let you defile the graves of the Hokages, including my sensei and his wife. I don't care if you are Naruto's child. You're just a demon spawn. And a mistake," said Kakashi, with Tiko looking amused as she chuckled darkly. "And this is coming from a hypocrite of a sensei who focused solely on the damn Uchiha when should have trained father as well," Tiko said with a slight sneer, with Kakashi narrowing his Sharingan eye at her. "Kakashi-sensei," yelled Sakura, who appeared with a team of Anbu with Sai at her side. "Sakura," he replied, seeing her bring reinforcements. Tiko narrowed her eyes dangerously at Sakura with murderous intent. She remembered how her mother told her about Sakura, who always constantly abuses her father. "It's you," yelled Sakura, who remembered Tiko. "Naruto," Tiko said, coldly glaring at her father's abuser. "It's her. Naruto's daughter. What is she doing here?" thought Sakura, feeling a chill run down her spine. "Stand down. You're surrounded," said Kakashi, with Tiko grinning behind her surgical mask. "Never. I don't know what will father do to this village since it's up to him. But I know who I will punish, who harmed him throughout his childhood," she said, flaring up with Yakai chakra, getting into a stance with her sickle and chain. "Everyone stop her and don't let her steal the coffins," Kakashi commanded as everyone prepared. "Try and stop me, if you can," challenged Tiko as two Anbu lunged at her with their tantos as she slashed them with her sickle while tossing a scissor at one Anbu's neck. Kakashi let out a bellowing war cry, moving at incredible speed towards Tiko with his Rikiri in hand, his Sharingan spinning, while Tiko was fending off three Anbus with her sickle. Turning slightly before beheading one Anbu while kicking the other one, Tiko saw Kakashi come towards her. She merely dodged before it went in contact with her as she hacked his arm clean off at the elbow with her sickle. Kakashi screamed in pain as he fell in an empty grave as the demon rat swarmed him. "Kakashi-sensei!" cried Sakura as she charged her fist with chakra and punched Tiko in the face that sent her crashing into another tombstone. "Too many rats," said Sai as he used his beast scroll, using everything at his disposal to stop the rats. Tiko however got back up, dusting off her trench coat, turning around to face Sakura, who flinched and was ghost pale. Now why was that? Tiko's surgical procedure mask had been removed, meaning that her slit mouth had been revealed. "What's the matter? Am I pretty?" asked Tiko with a sadistic smile from her ear-to-ear mouth filled with shark-like teeth. "No, you're disgusting," Sakura said with disgust, pulling out a kunai. "I was actually hoping you'd say that because you're not pretty either," Tiko said, reaching into her trench coat and pulled out a freaking chainsaw. Sakura widened her eyes in horror. Tiko cackling as she lunged at Sakura like a sadistic psychopath with her chainsaw ready to slice Sakura. Sakura started dodging and avoiding the chainsaw. While this was going on, the rats have dug up 4 coffins. They were now getting Kushina's. But Hachishaku-sama. Now how did Hachishaku-sama obtain the skull of Cowhead? You see, it was after she had been free on the night of the QB attack while kidnapping and killing children until it was her time to get Naruto when he turns 12. She went to a very vacant village untouched by the shinobi world and digged up the skull of Cowhead and took it with her for future plans and uses. She's done some modifications on the skull of Cowhead and turned the cursed skull into a living mask since she's found her perfect vessel to become Cowhead. Now walking up in front of the bound and chained Killer Bee, she grinned evilly and put the mask of Cowhead on him as she stepped back. "NGH. Gyojayuki. What's happening to me? I can't take this mask off. It stuck to my face," said Killer Bee. In his mindscape everything was going haywire. He couldn't see color and his body refused to listen to him. "I don't know what this is, but I detect something," Jayuki said, but was cut off. "Woo-oh. Jayuki bro. Help me," were Killer Bee's last words. The revived Cowhead now possessed Killer Bee. Hachishaku-sama grinned as she released the chains off the new and revived Cowhead, who was possessing Killer Bee. "Woo-oh," bellowed Cowhead. "Welcome back, Cowhead," Hachishaku-sama greeted as she cackled evilly. "Kurai," cried Samui, watching Kayako strangle the life out of her teammate with her hair. "Submit and join us. Or die with your friend," threatened Kayako, glaring at Samui, who looked completely frightened. I submit, just please don't kill me," pleaded Samui, who stared at her dead teammate Kurai. "Be good and maybe we won't," said Sadako, glaring at Samui. "Let's see what yakai can we turn her into?" asked Kayako as she used her hair to drag Samui to the pits. Hachishaku-sama smiled as she stared at the last 2 pits that was flooded with yakai chakra, and these 2 had Konan and Itachi Uchiha contained, turning them into yakai. Back with Tiko. Tiko cornered Sakura with her chainsaw, keeping the pink-haired girl in place. "Nowhere to run now. No one will save you," said Tiko, grinning as she cut Sakura's right shoulder with her chainsaw. "Aya!" screamed Sakura, looking at Tiko with tears. "Hurts, doesn't it? This is for punching and beating on my father. Prepare to die," said Tiko, ready to behead Sakura with her chainsaw. The flying kunai hit Tiko's chainsaw, destroying the weapon as she turned and saw Ino run up to her and stab Tiko in the chest. "Sakura, move!" Ino yelled as Sakura did as she told, but Tiko narrowed her eyes and backhanded Ino. Glaring at the 2 kunoichis, she reached into her trench coat, pulling out foot-long scissors. "I'm going to enjoy carving a smile on you bitches," said Tiko, walking towards the 2. Swoosh. Blood splattered. "Made it here just in time," said a stern voice. "Asuma-sensei," said Sakura, looking at the man standing behind Tiko with his trench knives drawn and had blood on them. In a split second Tiko's head fell off her body. The rat stopped and glared at the Konoha shinobi. Mistress Hisnazumi worried for his summoner. "Is she dead?" asked Sakura, staring at Tiko's unmoving body. Then everybody froze as they stared at Tiko's body and head. "What the hell?" exclaimed Ino, looking at the body where Tiko Uzumaki was, replaced by a female villager that they killed. "How? If that's not her, then where is she?" asked Asuma, who looked shocked. The rats quickly left, taking the coffins with them. "No," yelled Kakashi, who crawled out of his hole, been bitten and scratched by those demon rats who swarmed him. "We failed," muttered Sakura. "We need to report this to the Gondai," said Asuma, helping Kakashi up. "Wait, where's Sai?" shouted Sakura, who realized that he is missing. But Sai. Dragged by a Konoha Anbu female, gagged and chained, Sai was, as the woman unmasked herself, revealing to be Tiko Uzumaki, who is taking Sai with her. Mission accomplished. She may have failed in killing Sakura, but there's always next time. The rats are now delivering the coffins to her mother as Tiko keeps walking with the chained up Sai. With Tiko. Wham! Another tooth flew out of Sai's mouth as the pale root operative's mouth as Tiko began hitting him across the face with a crowbar. She brought him to an abandoned house and began torturing him by tying him to a chair. She kneed him in the gut as he vomited as he looked up weakly to dispute his disfigured bruised face from the beating he took from her crowbar. And this scene will be like how Joker tortured Jason Todd. Wham. 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 Crunch. Thud. Ash. Bam. Tiko proceeded to beat him mercilessly with a crowbar as she kept beating him as the crowbar is getting coated with blood as more teeth flew out his mouth because the last blow she did was struck his jaw nearly breaking it but she couldn't shatter his jaw yet until she gets information from him. Dropping the crowbar she stared at him with pity, seeing him spit his blood and teeth as his bruised disfigured face was banged up much more than it was from the intense beating from the crowbar. Are you ready to talk, Sai-kun? It's pointless in trying to act brave from this harsh beating I've given you. You're going to tell me everything about Danzo one way or the other, or do you want another beating from Crowbar-kun? She said in a monotonous tone with the last part she said slightly sadistically while at the same time she picked up the crowbar and looked ready to give him another beating. Sai couldn't help but flinch. He was truly terrified of her, he wasn't supposed to have these emotions and kind of reactions. Danzo-sama made sure of that. But for some reason he felt scared of her. Before she brought him here for torture, she removed his seal off his tongue from revealing any secret Danzo has. He protested and refused spilling out anything, but boy did he learn his lesson when Tiko pulled out the crowbar and have kept beating him 2 full hours. She tried to get him to speak, but he refused, which in result she beaten him much harder with the crowbar and the intense punishment went on for 3. Either you tell me or I'll beat you to death with Crowbar-kun, she stated with no emotion in her voice, staring into his bruised bloody face. He looked at her in fear, sweating as he eyed the crowbar in her hand, his one good eye looked up at her impassive expression. What's it going to be? Because I won't ask again. She asked, tapping the crowbar in her palm. He didn't have much of a choice, he preferred living. Please stop. I'll tell you everything. Please no more. I can't take it. I'll tell you everything about Danzo-san. He exclaimed, seeing her eyebrow rose, but he couldn't see her sadistic smirk behind her surgical procedure mask. Oh really? You'll tell me everything about Danzo? She asked, smiling behind her surgical mask that she truly broken the boy as he nodded frantically. Then tell me, Sai-kun, and maybe I'll consider sparing your life, she spoke, pulling out her scissors from her trench coat pocket. But Hachishaku-sama. Currently smiling at the coffins that consisted of the first Hokage, second Hokage, the third Hokage and fourth Hokage, with Kushina Uzumaki's coffin beside Minato's. In her hand she has the mask of the Shinigami to release the souls of the Hokages from the death god. Behind her were Sadako and Kayako, who could only stare at the 2 coffins that held their grandparents. We will not revive them yet. When the summit of the Shinobi War happens, that is when we will revive your grandparents, said Hachishaku-sama, staring at Minato's and Kushina's coffins. She wondered how was she going to bring in a good family reunion for her Naru-kun. Her glance shifted to the third Hokage's coffin with slight disdain. She didn't like the Sandaime Hokage, he also wronged Naruto as well and didn't do enough to protect Naruto when he was younger. She was going to make the Sandaime suffer for his mistakes by controlling him to kill the Sarutobi clan, only to leave Konoharamu alive as the sole survivor. She has much more to scheme for this upcoming Yakai war. She felt her pregnant stomach feeling a kick from her twins. In about a week or 2 more weeks she's giving birth to her twin daughters. Everything will go smoothly as planned, she just needed to wait for everything to go in motion as she planned. She needed to see her Naru-kun while she left him with Hinata while she was busy planning in the shadows. The name Akatsuki HQ. Growling in frustration and rage, Madara slammed his fist on the table, with his one Sharingan beaming behind his orange spiral mask. Now why was the Uchiha angry? Because nearly every member on the Akatsuki is dead, with the exception of Sasori, who came before Madara. It was just him and Puppet Boy. How could everything fall out of place? That damned accursed urban legend ruined everything he planned. He lost all of his members, he lost the Gobi, Nibi, Q.B. Now he recently learned that the Hachibi Jinchuriki fell in Hachishaku-sama's hands. The complete outrage. He was going to get those Jinchuriki from Hachishaku-sama one way or the other, consequences be damned. Now he needed help. Sasori wasn't enough, it seems he will need to turn to the one person he'd hate to ask for assistance. And that individual was Orochimaru. He didn't trust the Snake Sannin, but with the rest of the Akatsuki gone, he had no choice but to see the Snake Sannin. This was going to be a temporary alliance with the Snake Sannin and Sound Village. Not to mention he could manipulate Uchiha Sasuke to his grasp to join him and turn him against Orochimaru. He grinned behind his mask as he held a jar filled with liquid to preserve the most legendary taijutsu, the Rinnegan. After Nagato's demise, Madara sought out after the Uzumaki that was hidden as he took the eyes from Nagato whom died. Just in case Orochimaru tries to pull anything, Madara could use the Rinnegan against him. He wasn't going to throw in the towel, yet he was not going to let some urban legend step in the way of his plans. He couldn't have any of that. Meanwhile in Kumo, the Raikage could only stare in horror at what was before him. It was an unsealed scroll of Kari's head, along with a mini Kumo headband stained in blood, as he also stared at the destroyed sunglasses of Killer Bee, his brother. His blood boiled as he smashed his fist through his desk, destroying it in the process. That does it. I demand a Kage summit. I've had enough of this motherfucking Hachishaku-sama. Air roared in rage. Unaware to him, he failed to notice a demon weasel watch him as it disappeared to report back to Hachishaku-sama or Tiko Uzumaki. Konoha Hospital, Jiraiya. Still in his coma and hasn't moved as he was bandaged up and recovering from his wound from Naruto. He was almost at the brink of death the moment he rushed to the hospital. The monitors were faint. The Toad Sage was currently trapped in his own mind and dreams at the moment. Jiraiya's dreamscape. The Toad Sage was in his current dreamscape as he saw himself in Konoha, and very far away from him he saw his godson staring at him. "Naruto!" He shouted with a smile as he was just about to head over to his godson, only to freeze and have a horrified expression at who was behind Naruto. It was Hachishaku-sama. "Naruto. No. Get away from him, you bitch." He yelled angrily at the 8 feet tall woman who chuckled darkly and picked up Naruto. "I said get away from him. Don't you dare touch him." Jiraiya yelled enraged at her holding him. She enjoyed making the Toad-san angry as she opened her mouth and extended her long tongue, licking Naruto's cheek. "You know, Jiraiya-san, I should thank you for leaving him all alone in that motel while you were busy peeping on women when you were supposed to train Naru-kun," she said with glee, seeing him glare at her. "Shut up. Get away from him. Stay away from my godson," he said with anger, clenching his fist, seeing her scoff and have a dry laugh. "Really? Still calling him your godson? Where were you at when he was born, huh? Where were you when he lived a life of hell in Konoha? Care to explain that?" Hachishaku-sama mocked, seeing him grit his teeth. "I had a duty to monitor my spine at work outside the village and chase after my former teammate turned traitor. Sensei wanted me out in the field. He promised he would look after Naruto." Jiraiya argued, seeing her scoff, shaking her head. "And like a fool you've believed him. Your sensei did a piss-poor job of raising and protecting Naru-kun," she spat in disgust. She despised the Sandaime Hokage. "He left Naru-kun to the wolves while he was busy being political for the village, putting the village first over Naru-kun." She said, seeing him clench his fist tighter. "You're wrong. Sensei would never." Jiraiya said, defending his sensei. "Think I'm lying? He left Naru-kun in the care of the orphanage who mistreated him. They starved him. They made several attempts to kill him when he was just an infant. The matron made the kids he grew up with in that orphanage bully him and just downright made his life in the orphanage hell." Hachishaku-sama, she stated with a sneer as Jiraiya looked away. He didn't want to believe his sensei allowed this to happen to Naruto, he just didn't want to. You cannot fathom how much Naru-kun's life was difficult for him, 12 years of hell in that village. Hachishaku-sama said as she recalled how she secretly monitored Naruto's life. "Your village is filled with arrogant bigots who can't tell between a kunai and a scroll. I'm actually surprised Naru-kun hasn't killed himself just to free the QB and let it destroy the village out of spite," she spoke, in seeing Jiraiya growl. "Naruto would never do that. He wouldn't," he protested. "I'm pretty sure he would," out of anger she replied in a monotone. "You're wrong. You know nothing of Naruto. You're just using him. You've already turned him against us by manipulating him and using that silver tongue of yours to make him hate us." He glared at her, seeing her scowl. "You and Konoha whole have done that yourselves. You, the Sandaime, Tsunade and Kakashi thought it was okay to lie to Naruto about his heritage and family. He had a right to know about his mother and father at a young age, but you all thought he had no right to know and kept him in the dark about it," Hachishaku-sama said coldly. "He was going to be told at a proper time. When he was ready. Or at the very least a chunin. We couldn't tell him at a young age. You realize his parents have powerful enemies. Especially Minato. Iwa and Kumo both would do everything in their power to kill Naruto out of spite, and you know it." Jiraiya shot back. "You're half right, but unfortunately Iwa doesn't have the power and strength anymore due to Minato killing every Iwa shinobi in the Third Shinobi War, thus he weakened Iwa. Now Kumo may have a chance, but I doubt it," she admitted, staring at him. "Just imagine how your student would feel. On how you've forsaken his son. And let's not forget the red-hot Habenuru Uzumaki Kushina. They both would be very livid with the village's actions towards their son," she said, grinning a dark smile. "Shut up. Leave my student out of this." Jiraiya spat with hatred. "Oh? What's this? Have I struck a nerve?" Judging on the look on your face, you know Minato and Kushina will be very angry with you once you reach to the afterlife, she smiled cruelly as he looked ready to slam a Rasengan into her. Naruto will see what you really are. He will see. You're nothing but a monster. I won't let you corrupt him any longer than you have. He said as she chuckled. You old fool, Naruto-kun will always love me no matter what, nothing will keep us apart, I've done more for him than you and Konoha should have done. I've given him a family and so much love I'm even sharing him with Hinata Hyuga since the girl loves him so Hachishaku-sama said with a pleased smile. Those children of Naruto's are demons. They aren't even human. They will never be Uzumaki or Namikaze. They are just mistakes. Accidents. I will never accept them as my future great godchildren. He spat in rage. I could care less on how much you hate my children, just because they're not normal, they are pure-blooded yokai and Uzumaki and Namikaze. She replied in a not-so-caring tone. Naruto shouldn't give Konoha mercy, he should unleash that pent-up anger and hatred on the village he's been born in. She said seeing him scowl. Naruto would never destroy Konoha. I won't let you force him to do it. He yelled in protest. Who said I was forcing him to? I'm going to convince him to do it, you all deserve this, all of you, every last shinobi and villager who has wronged Naruto deserves to die. Only reason I'm not destroying the village is because I know there are still some people in the village who has been good to Naruto, and I know he wouldn't want me to kill anyone he cared about like Iruka, AM and her father, including your sensei's grandson and his friends, then there's Shikamaru and Choji. I believe Naruto should be the one to destroy Konoha, she said seeing him rush towards her with a Rasengan. Like hell I will let you make Naruto do it. Racing, he yelled ready to smash his ball of sphere into her, only to be repelled by gravity and is sent back. Getting up he glared at her only to widen his eyes in shock when he saw her dark blue eyes change, she has the legendary Taijutsu. The Rinnegan. Such foolishness, I believe this is goodbye Jiraiya-san, Hachishaku-sama said taking Naruto with her. Naruto. Nuo. He screamed seeing the young boy vanish with Hachishaku-sama and saw Hachishaku-sama cast him her scary expression before vanishing. Outside of the dream. Jiraiya was sweating as the life support monitor started beeping rapidly. Hokage Tower. Tsunade could only stop herself from smashing her own desk when she has learned that Naruto's daughter Tiko Uzumaki had raided the graveside and resting places of the Hokages. Kakashi lost his arm and is being treated right now. What could Hachishaku-sama possibly want with the Hokages? She even heard that Uzumaki Kushina's grave was taken too. Tsunade prayed that Hachishaku-sama wasn't going to use the forbidden jutsu the Ito Tensei to revive them. Things just couldn't get any worse, can it? Danzo demanded that they find his chosen apprentice Ai who was kidnapped by Tiko, but Tsunade overruled that because there was more important matters now that Hachishaku-sama has the village itself by the balls. Tsunade grew very worried. She wasn't sure that she should just step down from Hokage position and leave the village knowing that this village is almost nearing its doorstep of death at the hands of either Hachishaku-sama or Naruto, but she couldn't do that knowing it would be Danzo's chance and she couldn't have that. She just wished she could at least talk to Naruto and receive his forgiveness just one last time before he kills her. She wasn't stupid, she knew she was going to die at some point at his hands or Hachishaku-sama's. She looked at the picture of Naruto on her desk sadly. Meanwhile with Naruto. Still in the bed sleeping with Hinata Hyuga who is glowing and is in her yokai rabbit form laying peacefully on his chest. Now why was the Hyuga girl glowing? Because she and Naruto had sex and that she is no doubt impregnated with his seed, she was going to be mother now just like Hachishaku-sama. The two had sex for 2 days and didn't stop until morning. Naruto opened his one eye looking down at the cute lavender rabbit Hyuga as he stroked her indigo hair, then stroked her long rabbit ears, watching her sleep peacefully made him smile at least. He was glad Hinata had came and abandoned Konoha just to be with him, now he has 2 wives Hachishaku-sama and Hinata Hyuga. Hinata was going to be a mother, well Hachishaku-sama already is a mother and she would be giving birth in about a week or 2 weeks early. Hachishaku-sama opened up the door walking and seeing Naruto and Hinata up in her mega-sized bed since both Hinata and her were sleeping with Naruto together. He turned his eyes looking at his 8-foot wife, seeing him tower over him with a gentle smile. Hachihaim he said softly as she looked down at him. Naruto-kun she said with affection and a light blush on her face, seeing him get up out of bed already naked from having sex with Hinata. She smiled staring down south then back up at him. Naruto felt his erection harden when he got closer to her. Hachishaku-sama pulled down her dress letting her heavy breasts jiggle. Lemon happened. In Sound Village. So will you assist me? Madara asked with his Sharingan gleaming behind his mask as Sasori was besides him glaring at Orochimaru of the Sannin, who had Kabuto out on his flank. Of course, I will assist you. Said Orochimaru with a grin, turning his glance at his former partner Sasori. The puppet man didn't like siding with his former partner but with the loss of Deidara, he had no choice but to accept having to team up with Orochimaru again. The Budo gave the puppet man a glare and was prepared should he try anything. In the background of them was Uchiha Sasuke, with his Sharingan glowing to life. He wanted to know was Itachi among with the akatsuki. But from what he heard from Orochimaru was that Itachi had gone missing in action. Did someone steal his revenge? If so, there would be hell to pay. He will kill whoever stole his right for vengeance upon his brother. At a holy priest sanctuary. Itako was just watching her grandpa talking to lots of priests, monks and priestesses, warning them about Hachishaku-sama. Itako felt very worried. Was Hachishaku-sama that dangerous? Was she really a serious threat to the elemental nations? She just didn't understand it, seeing her grandpa gather over 100 monks, 100 priests, 100 priestesses. Did he need that many to take on Hachishaku-sama? She decided to approach her grandpa and question him about this that he's doing. "Grandpa?" She spoke, seeing him turn away from his work and look at his granddaughter. "Ah, Itako-chan, what brings you here, my dear?" He spoke in his elderly tone. "I brought you some tea and wonder if you want any," she said, walking over to the table, putting his tea by him. "Why thank you, I'd sure like a drink of tea," he said, putting down his scroll and taking a sip of his tea, seeing his granddaughter sit beside him. "Good tea, good to the heart itself," he said, continuing his work on the Jizo seal. "Grandpa, just why are we doing this? Is Hachishaku-sama really that much of a threat?" she asked, seeing him pause from his work, and his expression was shadowed. You couldn't tell what his reaction is right now. Itako, Hachishaku-sama is very dangerous. She's a monster that preys after innocent young boys and kills them, he said in a serious voice with a heavy frown upon his face. She can't be reasoned with. Every young boy out there in those shinobi villages are in terrible danger if we don't act now and seal her way. I need the assistance of a seals master to help seal her way, and the only seals master that is currently out there and alive is Jiraiya the Toad Sage. Her grandpa said since it was logical, he knew he couldn't seal her way by himself due to his old age, and that he needed the help of a seals master to seal away Hachishaku-sama. Meanwhile in Sound Village. Now that alliance has been formed between Madara and Orochimaru, they will begin their plans for retrieving the remaining Jinchuriki, but there was a problem, and Hachishaku-sama was the problem, and taking what's hers is not an easy thing. Orochimaru's pav. The snake Sannin could only be amused to see the true leader of the Akatsuki, who goes by the name of Madara. He looked skeptical about this. Madara, isn't he supposed to be dead? Shouldn't he be a frail old man? Unless this was a pretender being an impostor as Madara Uchiha. The snake Sannin could only grin. He could blackmail this impostor, but will have to tread carefully, since Sasori, his old partner, is alive and around and could stop him. He even warned Kabuto to not engage against Sasori. For now they were now alliance and will be working together temporarily, but once this is over, Orochimaru will kill both this impostor and his old partner Sasori, so he could continue his own evil agenda. Over the years, Orochimaru has heard lots of interesting things from his spies, that the feared urban legend Hachishaku-sama walks the elemental nations. Just when he was a genin, his sensei had told him Jiraiya and Tsunade stories of the Hachishaku-sama, but he believed her as a myth and not real. But after these 3 long years, hearing rumor after rumor about Hachishaku-sama made him see things differently, and from the bottom of his cold heart, he couldn't help but feel afraid of Hachishaku-sama. And he realizes that he cannot kill her knowing she's a spirit. Now Madara has the nerve to come to his village for an alliance to retrieve the missing Jinchuriki that Hachishaku-sama has within her grasp. Taking someone from Hachishaku-sama was a bad idea, and he didn't want to be on her receiving end, since he has no intention of taking something from her, fearing for what she'll unleash upon him and his village. Since Madara told him that Hachishaku-sama has killed half the Akatsuki, which was very disturbing, and that made Orochimaru think twice should he encounter her, he will have to come up with some curse seals or something that should stop Hachishaku-sama if that is possible. Sasuke's pav. The now teenage Uchiha could only scowl. Where was his brother Itachi? Why isn't he here with the other 2 Akatsuki members? He didn't want to even think his brother was killed, meaning someone stole his vengeance, someone denied him his revenge. He wanted answers and he wanted them now. No one wasn't supposed to kill Itachi but him. And him alone. Looking at the Akatsuki member with the orange mask, he scowled further, wondering if he knew what happened to Itachi, as Sasuke made his way over to the masked man and asked him what happened to his older brother. Konoha at the moment. The rookies are all settled at the Barbeck restaurant with worried faces, as they had a lot to think about their last encounter with Naruto and his children. Things just weren't the same anymore. They are very worried about Naruto having to fight them or kill them. This has been one crazy month. Naruto not only stays with the Hachishaku-sama, but Hinata of all people betrayed us. Why did it have to be this way? Couldn't she saw reason? Growled Kiba, who broke the silence. You should know better than that. Hinata has always had a crush on Naruto. I understood her reasoning for leaving the village and go with Hachishaku-sama and Naruto. She couldn't bear living here alone without him, so she threw away her status as clan heiress, her family, us and the village, spoke Shikamaru with a sigh. Neji looked away and sighed. The Ashi-sama and the whole Hyuga clan are very furious about Hinata's betrayal and demand that she is to be retrieved, but Tsunade-sama overruled them, saying she wasn't going to send no one else since the mission to retrieve Hinata has failed, spoke Neji, who still couldn't believe what his cousin has done. What are we to do now? It's bad enough that Tiko Uzumaki, who is Naruto's daughter, has stolen the caskets of the past Hokages, along with Uzumaki Kushina, said Ino, looking at all of her friends that are gathered with looks of grim on their faces. It's best that we wait, unsure of what would happen, whatever Hachishaku-sama is doing or what Naruto would do. It's best that we be prepared, answered Shikamaru with a grave expression, thinking of his friend, hoping to reason with Naruto to at least not kill any of them. With Kakashi currently in his hospital bed healing from the loss of his right arm that had been hacked off by Naruto's daughter, as he could only stare up at the ceiling with a grave expression. Things have gone straight to hell in Konoha. Hachishaku-sama has taken Naruto and is manipulating his student. Worse of all, his student lost his virginity to Hachishaku-sama and is now father over some demon spawn. Now that he lost his right arm, it seems he is now handicapped and that he is slightly poisoned by those rat demons that swarmed him when they clawed all over him and bitten him. Shizune is already working on an antidote to cure the poisoning. All he could do is just lay there and think of his student Naruto. With Jiraiya opening his eyes, slightly awakening from his coma, he grunted in pain as he looked down at his stomach that is bandaged. As he looked around his surroundings and could tell he was in the hospital, he noticed he was in Konoha as he looked to his right and saw angry-looking Tsunade glaring at him. Tsu, he spoke, but she interrupted him. Shut the hell up. She gritted her teeth, walking over to him as she slapped his face. Ow. He yelled in pain. What the fuck did I tell you? I specifically told you not to go after Naruto. But did you listen? Of course you didn't. Look at what you did to yourself. I warned you not to go after him. She hissed, scowling at him. I had to go and get him back. He's my godson. I'm not letting Hachishaku-sama fill his head with any more lies. Can't you see what she's doing to him? She's turned him against us. She's using him, Tsunade. He said, hoping for her to see reason. I gave you a simple order to not go after Naruto. You were supposed to help Asuma and Kurenai to retrieve Hinata, she retorted, seeing him look away and sighed. How long was I out? He asked. For a week, she replied hotly. What has happened? He asked. Asuma, Kurenai and Shikamaru told me everything while you were out. The mission to retrieve Hinata has become a failure. Tsunade said, seeing Jiraiya frown, looking down. Anything else? He asked, seeing her cast him a stare. There has been a raid here at the Konoha graveyard. Tiko Uzumaki, who is Naruto's daughter, came here and stolen the graves of the past Hokages and Kushina, Tsunade said, dropping the bomb as all the color drained from Jiraiya's face, hearing what she said. What? He yelled with fear, realizing what Hachishaku-sama has planned to do. Calm down. She spoke sternly. Calm down. How can I be calm when that bitch is planning on using Ito-tensei to revive my sensei, my prized student, and his wife to force them against their will to attack us? I'll be damned if I let her succeed. He yelled in outrage, struggling out of his hospital bed with Tsunade's pinning him down. I said calm down, Jiraiya. Or else. I'll keep you confined to this bed for a whole month. She threatened, glaring at him as he did as told, but growled he was truly pissed off. How dare that bitch steal the graves of his sensei and student, planning on using them as her puppets. She's no better than Orochimaru. Tsunade-sama. Yelled Shizune, who barged in. Was Tsunade's response, looking at her apprentice. I've got a message from the Raikage. He demands a Kage summit. She said, holding a sealed message in a scroll meant for Tsunade's eyes. Tsunade opened the scroll, reading its contents as she started sweating slightly, looking at everything the Raikage has written. I have to be at Iron Country within 4 days to go to the Kage summit, she said, grimly putting away the scroll. There will be other Kages there, but what's the discussion about? Shizune spoke as Jiraiya had a hardened expression, glancing at Tsunade. The discussion in question concerns about. She paused before dreading on what she's about to finish. Hachishaku-sama. And Yuzu. Hachishaku-sama was taking a bath and at the same time washing her ebony-colored hair as she finished her bath and went to put on a new white morning dress and grabbed her hat and with a loving smile at her sleeping Naru-kun, who is holding on to the sleeping Hinata Hyuga, who is in bed, as she walked out her room and went to her lair. In her lair, Hachishaku-sama gathered her daughters and the 3 Akai generals, along with Yujito, who is not in her black cat form, as she turned towards Cowhead, who still possesses the body of Killer Bee. Listen up, me and my family will be going out on a family vacation. The rest of you will remain here to guard and protect Yuzu, is that understood? said Hachishaku-sama with her daughters gasping in surprise, looking shocked as Sadako looked happy for a family outing. "Zabuza, I'm placing you in charge of everything until I get back," she said with a demon swordsman of the mist nod. "Before me and my family depart, I wish to introduce you new members of our ranks. They are given ranks as yokai captains. Cowhead is already a captain. Yujito, our house pet, will earn a promotion. She will be the next yokai general. Allow me to introduce your captains. Once their name is called, they will step in." Hachishaku-sama spoke as they nodded and waited on who was new to join their ranks. Itachi Uchiha called out Hachishaku-sama as the man had stepped in the room, revealing himself towards his comrades. No longer wearing his Anbu armor or akatsuki cloak, now replaced with a black kimono with black flame-like patterns, and with the Uchiha clan crest on his back, with a katana sword attached to his right hip, and on his back he grew out black-feathed wings. Unsheathing his sword, the blade was coated in black flames. As he sheathed it back, then noticed he was holding a red mask with a long nose. It didn't take him long to know what he is. He bears the spirit and entity of the yokai crow known as Tengu. He is ranked yokai captain, she remarked as Itachi Uchiha remained silent, giving a nod to his yokai generals. Konan Hachishaku-sama called as the former Akatsuki member walked in, turning towards her yokai comrades. Wearing a violet kimono with origami decals all over it as she had her flower attachment on her hair. She is a rare type of yokai with her ability to manipulate paper. She is called Origami Ana, spoke Hachishaku-sama as Konan nodded and walked over to join her new friends. And last but not least, Samui Hachishaku-sama called out as the last yokai captain walked in to be greeted by her new comrades. Now having pointed ears, her blonde hair grew an inch that reached her shoulders, wears a white shirt underneath her kimono, which is colored blue around the collar and shoulder. Over her kimono is her light armor, fitted around her lower torso and padding on top of this. Samui's shoulder pads are roughly shaped like cogs, with spikes roughly sharp, also has 2 pads on her forearms, which extend over the top of her hands. These are bound by gray rings to her arm. On top of the pad on her right arm is an armored plate, on which a kanji from name is inscribed, meaning heaven or sky. The 2 rings encircle her wrist and elbow. The blue jewel is set on the tip nearest her elbow. The identical plate on her left arm is not connected to her forearm, but on her arm and elbow. As with the plate on her right arm, the plate on her left arm also has a jewel set on the tip nearest her elbow, however it is red and not blue. She has an extra ring, not connected to the plate, around her left wrist, to match the one on her right. She has an orange coil around her right bicep. A series of light blue sashes are tied together in bows connected from her shoulder pads to her waist. The ends of this final, waist sash hang down towards her knees. Her chest has enlarged a little, and her skin color is quite tan. Her blue eyes remain the same, but her pupils grew a little bigger, spinning wheels which float to either side of her feet. She is wearing heels, as she seemed to be carrying a spear in her right hand. She wields the deadly weapon known as the Thunder Pike. Samui is now a very strong and rare type of yokai. She is a thunder yokai, which I will call her Rage Ana. All of her attacks are lightning-based attacks. Hachishaku-sama spoke as Samui nodded and walked towards her new comrades. 3 yokai generals. Zabuza Mamichi Oni Demon, Haku Mamichi Yuki Ana Entity, Kamimuro Kagaya the Gashidakuro Entity. 4 yokai captains. Itachi Uchiha Tengu, Konan Origami Ana, Cowhead, Samui Rage Ana. This was Hachishaku-sama's strongest growing army, while her 3 daughters have a higher rank over the generals and captains. Her ranks lead an army of undead Yuzu samurais, and with the Yokai war coming up, she's plotting her forces are twice as strong, but not as strong as she and her daughters. Her daughters are low Bijuu level and low Kage level. As for Hachishaku-sama herself, her strength and power is almost as close as Kagaya Otsutsuki, due to absorbing black and white Zetsu's life force, and took little of Kagaya's chakra that was stored in black Zetsu. Her true intentions that she will reshape the elemental nations to her own liking, and with Naruto as her husband, she plans on becoming a yokai goddess, and by any means necessary, she will conquer the elemental nations, corrupting it in her own image as a place for yokais, while humans are forced against their will to put their faith in her. All she needed to do was cause chaos in the afterlife and dethrone Kami, then go to hell and dethrone both the Shinigami and Yami. Once the gods are dealt with, she will be the only goddess. She wasn't exactly sure how Naruto will react to the things she's doing and that she's plotting. Hopefully she prayed that she could convince him to see things her way. She even planned on sharing this with him. Besides, she could make him a god once she becomes a goddess. After their family vacation was over, she could continue to prepare for the upcoming yokai war. Since the Raikage declares a Kage summit and declares war on her foolish humans, they will all tremble at her power. The age of humans overstayed their welcome. It's time for the age of yokais to arise and take control. You are all dismissed except you. Itachi Hachishaku-sama spoke as the yokai captains and generals, plus her daughters left, leaving both her and Itachi alone. I have an assignment for you. I want you to spy on Orochimaru, Obito Uchiha, spy on the Kage summit, and figure out what they are planning and spy on Konoha as well. I want to know what is everyone planning after I return, is that understood? She said with a stern voice, seeing him nod. Understood Hachishaku-sama, he replied emotionlessly at his superior. Good, I will be sure to inform Zabuza about this, oh and Itachi. She replied, seeing him look up at her. Failure will not be tolerated, my orders and commands are absolute, and you will carry them out, am I clear? She spoke with malice as he shivered at her expression, noticing a Hanyu mask manifest above her head scaring him. Understood Hachishaku-sama, he stammered, seeing her nodding as he left her lair, turning into a crow as she disappeared to go pack up and tell her daughters to pack up. But Naruto. We're going where, Hachiheim, he asked with excitement. Naruto-kun, we're all going on a family vacation, you, me and our kids are going on a vacation, Hachishaku-sama said with a gentle smile. Is Hinata-chan coming with us too? He asked. Of course she is, Naruto-kun, after all she is your second wife and a part of our family, replied Hachishaku-sama with her gentle motherly voice that was angelic. I can't wait. I'll tell Hinata-chan to get up and get ready so we can go. How long will we be gone on this vacation? He asked, seeing her stroking her swollen pregnant stomach. We'll be gone for 3 weeks, I've already told our Yakai generals this, they will take care of Yuzu while we are gone, she replied, seeing his smile grow wider. Alright. He cheered as he ran to his bedroom to go tell Hinata. She watched him leave as she thought, how was he going to take in having a reunion with his parents once she uses the Edo Tensei for her war, along with the past Hokages. Then she thought of how was she going to convince him that Konoha, his former home, must be erased from existence. The village had been a scar on him for a long time, and it was time that he lets it go by destroying it. And she was going to let him be the one to vent out his pent-up anger and unleash it to destroy his former village. If he didn't have the heart to do it, then she will do it herself. She'll be very obliged to kill all who screwed over Naruto if push comes to shove. Jiraiya, Tsunade, Sakura and the other rookies, Kakashi, the Konoha elders, especially Danzo, and more importantly Orochimaru, Obito and Sasuke Uchiha. All of them were going to pay dearly and will surely die, no more mercy. Hachishaku-sama was going to make sure that every last one of them suffer and die. She hoped she could convince him to do it. At least in the end she'll spare Shikamaru, Choji, the Ichirakus, Konoharamu and his friends, along with Iruka and maybe Hinata's younger sister, that is if the youngest girl wasn't like her bastard of a father, but she decides to leave that up to Hinata on the fate of her youngest sister. She walked away, going to pack up so her and her family can go on their vacation, 3 weeks, and once 3 weeks are up, she'll set things in motion for her war and her next grand scheme. No one will stop her, no human or Biju has the power to challenge Hachishaku-sama. Once more she, Naruto and her family will rule over all. Their first place to go on their vacation was the amusement park. So this part ends here. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, so quickly like this video for second part of this series. And comment down below your thoughts about this series. And now it's time for me to go, bye.